You know the difference between legal nurse consultants who get an occasional case and those who get multiple cases every week? Well, it's not luck. It's having a bulletproof project planning system. I'm Randy Lovelace. I've been mentoring nurses on how to run successful legal nurse consulting firms for years. And I've seen way too many talented nurses fail, not because they couldn't do the work, but because they had no system for managing projects. Hey, I know this isn't exciting, but it is necessary. And today I'm going to show you the exact 5-phase project planning system that's allowed me to scale my business to the point where I can make money while I play golf. Because my team knows exactly what to do and when to do it. Look, here's what happens to most legal nurse consultants. An attorney calls with a case. If you're lucky, you get excited. This could be a $5,000 project. So they say yes immediately. They start working on it right away, and then chaos ensues. They realize halfway through that they underestimated the time commitment, the cost. The timeline they promised was just unrealistic. They forgot to clarify exactly what the attorney wanted and what specifically they were looking for. They find the records are a mess and they don't even have the right templates ready. If they're using a subcontractor, that person's probably really confused about expectations as well. Sound familiar? Well, here's the thing. Attorneys judge us not only by the quality of our final work product, but on how smooth the entire process feels for them. If they're consistently having to answer your questions, clarify expectations, wonder about deadlines, they're not going to work with you again, no matter how good your work product is. But when you have a systematic project plan, everything changes. You look professional, you deliver on time, and the attorney thinks, this person has their act together. I want to work with them again. So let me break down the exact system I use. Here's the system in a nutshell. Case intake, information gathering, preparation, execution, and quality review. Every single project, whether it's a 50-page case or a 15,000-page case, I don't care. It goes through these exact same phases. Now, here's what's beautiful about the system. Once you master it, you can train your subcontractors to follow it too. That's how you scale from doing the work yourself to managing the work and making money even when you're not actively working. I think I've mentioned Rachel before. She went from being a bedside nurse to managing 8 active subcontractors in under a year using this exact system. She can take her daughter to the zoo now on a beautiful day because her subcontractors know exactly what's expected of them and when and how. So let me walk you through each phase. Phase 1 is the case intake. Most legal nurses mess up right from the start here. They treat case intake like it's just get the records and start working. That's wrong. Phase 1 has 3 critical components. First, the initial record review. Before you quote a price or a timeline, you need to do a quick assessment of what you're actually dealing with. How many pages are there? What's the time period? Are there obvious gaps? Are the records legible? I usually spend half an hour to an hour doing this initial review, and it saves me hours of problems later. I'm looking for red flags that might affect the cost or the timeline, like handwritten notes that I can hardly read or obvious missing records that I'll need to request. Component 2 is cost estimation. Here's where you need to be strategic. You're not just estimating how long it's going to take you to do the work, you're estimating the total project cost, including subcontractor fees, your management time, quality review time, a buffer for any unexpected complications. I was talking to this LNC recently, and she said that she quoted a case based on her time alone. Then she realized she needed help, and she had to absorb the subcontractor cost. Now she builds the entire project structure into her cost estimate. Component 3 is contract signing. Now this isn't just about getting a signature. This is where you set clear expectations about deliverables, timeline, communication frequency, and revision policies. The more specific you are here, the smoother everything else is going to be. And I have templates that cover everything. What exactly will be delivered? When will it be delivered? How revisions will be handled? What happens if additional records are discovered? Or how communication is going to happen throughout the project? And phase two. Phase two is information gathering. Phase two is all about getting a deep understanding of what the attorney really needs. This goes way beyond just creating a chronology. Here's what I mean. Let's say an attorney sends you medical malpractice records and says, I need a chronology. Well, that's not enough information to create an outstanding work product, especially if this is the first time you've worked with this attorney. Now, if you've worked with them many times and they want what they've always gotten, perfect. But if it's not that case, you need to understand, what's the theory of this case? What specific medical issues are they most concerned about? Are there particular time frames or time periods that are more critical to you? What will you as the attorney be using this chronology and report for? A settlement negotiation, expert witness prep, trial preparation? And I have a standard list of questions I ask every attorney. This information then guides how I structure the entire project. Seth is one of our Catalyst clients. He told me recently that this phase transformed his practice. He said when he started asking deeper questions, attorneys began seeing him less as a vendor and more as a strategic partner. And that's when the referrals started coming in for him. This is also where you determine if you need a specific expertise. Maybe this is a cardiac case and your background is ED or ICU or OR. And that's cool, but you've got to know up front so you can plan accordingly. All right, let's move into phase three, preparation. This is where the magic really starts happening. This is where you set up your project for success before any actual report writing begins. First, you're going to locate your subcontractor if you need one. If you're using a subcontractor, this is where you match the right person to the right case. You want somebody whose nursing background aligns with the medical issues that are involved. But it's not just about clinical expertise. You're going to also want someone who's available for your timeline and who consistently produces high quality work. This is one of the huge advantages in our Catalyst community. Members of Catalyst typically only use Catalyst trained subcontractors because they know they've been through the same rigorous training and that subcontractor understands quality standards. Step two is determining your timeline. Your timeline needs to work backward from the attorney's deadline, but it also needs to account for every phase of this process I'm teaching you. Initial draft completion, your quality review time, potential revisions, final delivery, all with appropriate buffers as needed. And step three of this phase is preparing the records and templates. This is where you organize the records in a logical way and set up your templates. I have specific templates for different types of cases, med-mal, personal injury, products liability, etc. Each template is designed to help the chronology writer focus on the most relevant medical issues for that type of case. Shauna, she's another one of our Catalyst clients. She was managing to go through Catalyst while raising a toddler, and she told me that having standardized templates like this and a preparation process allowed her to work efficiently during her limited amount of time that she had windows available to work. All right, let's move on to phase four, execution. Now we get to the actual work phase, but even here, you need a systematic approach. If you're using a subcontractor, your job isn't just to hand off the records and wait for the final product. You need to be available for questions, provide guidance on complex medical issues, ensure they're staying on track throughout. I typically do a check-in, especially with a new sub, around the 25% and the 75% completion points, just to make sure everything's okay. This allows me to catch any misunderstandings early, to make course corrections as needed before they become major problems. Staying on task and staying on time. Super important. This is where the project management skills become critical. I use a simple tracking system. It shows me exactly where each project stands at any given time. Like, when's the first draft due to me? When do I need to start my quality review? When is the final deadline? Alex is one of our more successful Catalyst clients, and she told me recently that she increased her revenue by nearly 14 times. Not 14%, 14 times in just 1 year. And a big part of that success came from her systematizing her execution phase so she can handle multiple complex cases simultaneously without dropping balls. If you don't have that, you'll never get where she did. Then you need communication management. Throughout the execution phase, you need to keep the attorney appropriately updated without overwhelming them. Now, depending on the case, I sometimes send a brief update at the halfway point to the attorney. And then, of course, you immediately notify them of any issues that arise that might affect the timeline or the cost. Now, phase 5, quality review. Again, super important. Please don't miss this. This is a final phase, and it's what separates good legal nurse consultants from great ones. Systematic quality review process is necessary, and I have a specific checklist I use for every single project. Medical accuracy, timeline accuracy, formatting consistency, grammar and spelling, attorney-specific requirements. Everything gets checked systematically. But here's what most people miss. I also review for strategic value. Does this chronology tell a compelling story? Does it highlight the medical issues that matter most in the case? Does it identify the red flags and the opportunities the attorney might not have noticed? On time or early delivery. I always aim to deliver at least 24 hours before the promised deadline. This gives the attorney time to review it, come back with any questions. We can make minor revisions without feeling rushed. Then you set up for the next project. Here's a pro tip for you. When you deliver exceptional work on time using a systematic process, that's when you ask for referrals or discuss additional projects. The attorney's seeing you at your best, and they're thinking, I want to work with this guy, somebody who's organized, professional, and I want to keep working with them again. Now, here's where this gets really exciting. Once you have this 5-phase system mastered, you can scale your business in ways that most LNCs never even consider. One of our clients was recently telling me that she went from being laid off at her hospital job to managing 10 plus attorney clients in just a few months. How? She systematized every aspect of the project management so thoroughly that she could train and manage subcontractors to execute her vision. When you have a bulletproof system, attorneys trust you with bigger cases. They refer you to other attorneys. They come back with more work, and eventually, you're not just completing projects, you're running a business that generates income even when you're not personally doing the medical review work. Now look, most legal nurse consultants never develop systematic project planning because they think it's too complicated, or they're too eager to just start working and get a paycheck. But here's what I've learned after years in this business. The upfront investment in creating and following systems pays dividends for years. It's the difference between always being stressed about deadlines and having complete confidence that everything will be delivered on time and on budget. It's also the difference between being a solo practitioner who trades time for money constantly and being a business owner who can scale and create real wealth. Now, if you want to master this 5-phase project planning system along with all the templates, checklists, processes I use in my business, that's exactly what we teach in Catalyst Coaching and Mentoring. We don't just teach you how to write chronologies. We teach you how to run a professional legal nurse consulting business from day one. You'll get the exact templates I use, the project management systems, the quality review checklist, access to a community of trained subcontractors who can help you scale. The attorneys are out there, and they're looking for legal nurse consultants who have their act together. They want to work with professionals who can manage complex projects smoothly, deliver exceptional results on time. So listen, check out our free training. In the free training, I go over more tips, tricks, and myths about legal nursing. The link's down below in the description. Your systematic, scalable legal nurse consulting business is there. It's waiting for you. You just have to grab it. I appreciate you watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.